Welcome to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer, a show full of tips and practical strategies to repair, rebuild, and strengthen your relationship. If you are currently stuck wondering if your marriage can be saved, or you know you want to save it but don't know how to go about changing it, this show is for you. And now here is your host, Nicola Beer, who specializes in a proven 10-step program to help couples increase their love, passion, and happiness in their marriage in 30 days or less, guaranteed.
Hi and welcome, this is Nicola Beer and I'm excited that you are listening to this episode because it's very important, and what we're talking about today is dealing with alcohol or drug addiction. Whether it's your alcohol or drug addiction and you're listening in for yourself, or whether your partner has it, or whether another family member, someone that you love. Watching someone that you love harm themselves with alcohol or drugs can be very painful. And I'm passionate about this topic because I used to suffer from a secret, crushing daily drinking habit years ago, where despite wanting to stop, I found I could not. Thankfully, I sought help and recovered, and my life is so much better now that I am free of it. Free not just of the excess drinking, but free from the mental thinking about drinking, the self-hate, the guilt and the shame that used to come with it. The good news is that millions recover every year and say exactly the same thing, that they love their new life. Unfortunately, though, I do have a family member that is struggling to control their alcohol. They don't drink every day, but when they do, they find that they cannot stop and get into all sorts of trouble. So I know how hard it is to sit there and watch while they change personality, while they stop communicating, and while they do things that they wouldn't normally do. It hurts because you love them, you care for their health and relationships. Many people think an alcoholic or a drug addict is a stereotype of a man on a park bench, or someone waking up and taking a substance first thing in the morning. And this just isn't true. It's whenever it's causing a problem. An addiction is where something is causing a problem and you cannot stop. This could be relationship problems. It could be mental or physical health issues. It could be financial problems. If you have a suspicion that a loved one is struggling with alcoholism or drug addiction, it can be hard to know what to do. Part of you may want to approach them and ask them to see a counsellor, a doctor, or to enter rehab. The other part of you may fear that your loved one will become aggressive, abusive, and sever the relationship that you have with them. Therefore, you may want to keep quiet and sweep it under the carpet. Part of you may feel like you've already tried everything and feel hopeless and helpless in the situation. If this is true for you, then you are not alone. And you're in the right place listening to this today, because I'm going to be sharing some important tips for you. The most common questions that I get asked are, what do I do if they refuse to talk about it? What do I do when they keep denying that they have an alcohol or drug addiction? What do I do when they blame me for their alcohol or drug addiction? Or what do I do if they don't see it as a problem and I do? There are various ways to approach a loved one with a plan that shows a true desire, love and concern to help. It's vital for anyone who is dealing with this kind of situation to be aware, though, that ultimately the loved one has the choice to acknowledge that there's a problem and accept help or to reject it. It has to be their choice. That's why it's crucial not to tell them what to do or to make any threats, as it may backfire and in some circumstances lead them to not getting help in the future. Conversations conducted in a positive way, offering support and sharing concerns can have a powerful impact in the long run. The key thing to remember is that very rarely will drug addicts and alcoholics get help in the time frame that you set out for them. For many drug abusers and alcohol abusers, it's a process. The process begins with them messing up, acting in a way that they wish they didn't, hurting someone, maybe you, or themselves, and dealing with the shame of it. They will then believe that it will never happen again, as they can take control of it. And this will make them want to try even harder to prove to you and themselves that they can handle the drug or alcohol and are not addicted and don't have a problem with it. Sadly, in my experience, this dance of trying to take control of the addiction and dealing with the sense of failure when the alcohol or drug addiction wins can take weeks, months, years, or decades before help is sought. In fact, many experts agree that people need to reach some kind of rock bottom. Now, some people's rock bottom is right where they have lost their family, where they have lost their financial security, where they have lost everything. And that's where we get the stereotype of the homeless man on the street or the drug addict that shoots up in the morning. However, people get help now with higher rock bottoms, if that makes sense. The rock bottom may be an embarrassing night out. It may be an argument. So the key thing to remember is that different people seek help at different stages. The reason that I'm sharing this is because whilst discussions can be beneficial, recognise that they are unlikely to be ready for the help at the exact time that you want them to get help. You may feel that they can't control it. However, they may feel that they can, and they just need to apply their willpower even more. And this is something that they will go through. That being said, there are some practical tips that can help you based from my work experience, where I have helped support alcoholics, people addicted to steroids, prescription drugs, sleeping tablets, sugar, and illegal drugs. If you want to talk to me, then do take advantage of the fact that I do always offer a free personal breakthrough session to people that are struggling with anything within their relationships or within their life individually. And I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to keep on offering these free 30-minute sessions. However, at the moment, I do have space, so do reach out. You can visit my website, www.nicolabeer.com, and take advantage of this while the offer is still available. And I will provide a link also with this podcast. So what can you do? The first thing you can do is you can learn about addiction and you can empower yourself. And this is the first step. So the first step is really learning as much as you can about whatever addiction that they have, whether it's an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction. This is going to give you a deeper insight into their thinking and behaviour and also prepare you for the road ahead. If you find yourself constantly assessing, monitoring, analysing your spouse's or family members' behaviour, you're going to likely burn out. Focusing all of your attention and obsessing about them will only exhaust you in the long run. Plus, they will hate that and become more secretive and withdraw from you further. So focus on learning more about their addiction. This is an action that you can take and can control. When I speak to the husband or wife concerned about their loved one's alcohol or drug use, I educate them on the psychology behind it, the patient needed, and how denial plays out. There are so many resources online that outline the signs and symptoms of drug and alcohol addiction, which some do find helpful. My only caution with this is that to be careful not to label anyone as an addict, because no one, even if it is true, wants to be labelled or thought of in that way. They themselves have to realise that they are addicted to alcohol or drugs for them to address it. If they're not ready, they may fight your diagnosis and fight you. And that's a real sad truth about it. People will do anything to defend their drug or alcohol of choice, their addiction of choice. So it's really careful to not say that they are an addict. Only they can say that they are an addict. Learning about possible treatment options can also help you to feel more self-confident when you are going to be talking to them, if you do decide that you're going to sit down and talk to them. And having done some research is going to also support them, because they may not know of the research available. They may have not researched themselves. They may have not felt ready to do that, and they may not have actually faced looking at that. So you may be able to give them some light here. Now, before I move on, I would just like to share with you one of the major problems when it comes to alcohol and drug addiction that I see in the marriages that I help. Many husbands and wives will come to me and they will say that they do not believe that their partner is addicted. They do not believe that they are addicted because they can go 3 months without drinking, and then when they drink, they just cannot stop and they end up drinking for 24 hours. Or they carry on for longer than that. Or same with drug addicts, that they have had 6 months not taking any drugs, and then they find that when they take the drug, that's it. They are drinking and taking drugs for a long period of time. And they act out. And by acting out, there's violence, there's abusive text messages, there is hurtful comments, there is calling different family members, there is abuse to objects as well as people. So sometimes this can also be confusing, because if we go with a stereotypical addict, then the addict is a person that drinks in the morning. The addict is a person who has lost everything. The addict is a person that can't cope with their life. And in reality, that just isn't true. As I mentioned, people have different rock bottoms. And a rock bottom for someone that is self-conscious and aware of themselves and wants to change and has the honesty to face up to it will admit that they can go a long time without alcohol or drugs, but when they drink or when they take a drug, they can't stop. And I've worked with people that are addicted to steroids, and they've gone months without steroids and they think they're fine, and then they get hooked again, and that's it. And so learning more about this is crucial. What actually is an alcohol problem? What actually is a drug problem? And there are amazing websites for this. You can look at Alcoholics Anonymous, Al-Anon, which is for family and friends of drug addicts and alcoholics. There is Narcotics Anonymous. There is Cocaine Anonymous. There is various other ones which have really good quizzes on them for the individual to assess whether they have a problem and whether they would benefit from getting some support. And again, it's something that they will need to do. The second thing that you can do is to keep your cool. Know that at times you're going to feel as though your anger and frustration will overcome you. And when you experience these emotions, it's vital for you to take a few steps back. Judging your loved one or accusing him or her of anything is going to make your situation worse instead of better. The best advice I can offer for approaching an active alcoholic or drug abuser is to be as genuine as possible. Remain calm even if they push your buttons, and share some of your concerns and some of your issues, and let them know that you don't blame them, that you blame the substances. And that approach is supportive to a relationship, because after all, these substances, by their very nature, are addictive. Government warnings will tell us alcohol is addictive. Drugs are addictive. Even on the back of prescribed medication, it says, caution, with sleeping tablets, things like caution, these can be addictive. So it stands to reason that if we give our body an addictive substance again and again and again, over the years, over time, our body is going to get addicted. And this is what happens for so many people, unfortunately. Recognise also that if you are feeling frustrated and angry, experts say that it actually takes 20 minutes for the body to cool down after getting worked up and hot from frustration and anger and resentment. So, bearing that in mind, what can you do for yourself for 20 minutes to cool down? Perhaps it's getting in the shower, going for a walk, tidying up, some people find therapeutic, lying down, listening to a meditation or some music, calling a friend to de-stress and unwind. And if you would like to listen to a meditation, then I do have 2 free ones on my website. You can also email me if you can't find the links, but there's 2 on my website. One is Forgive and Let Go, and that's for if you're in a relationship, just to forgive and let go of the past. And the other one is Self-Love, how to boost your self-esteem. Another great way to de-stress for those 20 minutes and cool down is to call a friend. Is there a friend that you can call, or is there a friend that you can email and share your thoughts and ask them how they are and get in that energy? Or play with a pet. It's a brilliant way to bring up your energy and switch your energy. Now, the next area that can support you and them is to root out any enabling behaviours. Now, it can be hard to acknowledge yourself that someone you love has a serious problem. Enabling can take different forms depending on the age of the substance abuser, their status in the family and the makeup of the family. When a family member is battling with an addiction, the whole family can often adapt to make room for it. This can include adjusting responsibilities, attitudes, expectations, finances, and communication. Avoidance or denial are not effective ways to handle a loved one's addiction. This is because they are both a form of enabling. This means that you do things intentionally or unintentionally, subconsciously, that allow them to continue using the alcohol or drugs. It is particularly common among husbands and wives of substance abusers. Ultimately, though, you will enable someone because you love them and you want to ease their pain or change their behaviour. Unfortunately, the result is more pain since they haven't moved out of their alcohol or drug addiction. Sometimes for an addict to get sober, the whole family needs to make changes. This may be hard as you will have to witness your loved one confronting the issues and overwhelming results of their addiction. But remember that the moments can help them to understand better the necessity of finding strength, hope, and help. Here are a few practical guidelines that may help you to avoid enabling behaviour. They're just suggestions, so feel free to accept what you like and reject what you don't like, as with everything that I share with you. The first thing is to not really tolerate their excuses and to stop making excuses for them if you've been doing that, so that they can face the real impact of their addiction. The other thing is to stop saving your loved one whenever they get into trouble. Allow them to experience the trouble in the hope that they may change. The next thing is to set healthy boundaries and limits. Know what you will put up with and what you won't put up with. Know your walk away point. That may sound harsh. However, we also need to love ourselves and look after ourselves. And I do have another episode on healthy boundaries, so please subscribe to the show, so make sure that you can get all of the episodes that I've created. And this one is, it's got in the title Healthy Boundaries, so you may want to search for that if you haven't found that one yet. Talk to your extended family and friends and tell them also not to assist. Maybe that's assisting with money or excusing the behaviour or something else, if you feel that that's going to help you. And this definitely applies if we're talking about teenagers with addiction. If they do get help for alcohol or drug addiction, allow them to put their recovery first. Time and time again, I work with couples where they're into recovery and then the other person gets jealous and thinks that they're not important anymore, and they feel that their partner has a whole new life, and they feel left out, and they feel resentful that how come you're the one that has caused me misery, and now you're having this great life, meeting all these new friends and recovering. And this can be a reality for some people. So it's really important that if you feel like that, if you're feeling jealous, if you're feeling resentful at their recovery, if you're feeling that you are missing out, then it's important for yourself to consider having a program of your own, whether you join Al-Anon or whether you work with a life coach and find a project that's going to fulfill you. Find something new for yourself that's going to fulfill you, that's going to make you happy, because you deserve that as well. You deserve to focus on a hobby perhaps, or something that's going to bring you joy and love and excitement and new people into your life. And this is what I do when people are jealous of their partner's recovery. They want their partner to be recovered, but they feel they're having a whole new life, and they feel sometimes insecure, and they also feel sometimes that they want that too. And that's possible. We can create the life that you want just by setting some actions, setting some goals, getting you to realign with who you are. Because often we can lose ourselves in relationships, and we can definitely lose ourselves in relationships where one person has an addiction, because what we're doing in that relationship is we're worrying about them. Our life becomes revolved around protecting them, hiding for them, covering up for them, worrying about them, thinking about them, and this is no way to live. And when we do that, we forget who we are sometimes, and we forget what we love and what we want to do. And I said no ultimatums. However, sometimes providing incentives can work well for some couples and some families. Providing incentives like saying, if you do this, then we'll go on a holiday, or if you do this, then we'll do this. Sometimes that can work. You'll have to tune into yourself and see whether you feel that could work for you in your situation. And if it's got to this stage, and not all addictions get to this stage, but if it's got to the stage where money is tight, where they're using money that could be used for food or could be used for the family, and taking family money or taking your money to feed their addiction, then it's also important to make sure that you don't give them money if that's what it needs to protect them and to stop enabling their addiction. Again, only you will know if you're reaching that point in your relationship with them, and it's far better to buy them stuff that they need, buy them food, buy them groceries, buy them hygiene items, etc., rather than actually give them financial support. The last thing I want to share with you is really not to give up. This doesn't mean not giving up criticising and commenting on them, but it means not giving up that there is no hope. Do reach out and get some professional help, because there is free help available. As I mentioned, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous for the addicted person, and then Al-Anon, which can also support you. And also you can get support from family, friends. It's important to build a support network around you, as well as a coach if you feel like you want to work with someone else and you want to speak to someone who's neutral and that doesn't know you and your life. And the last thing that I really wanted to mention, which is probably the most important of all, and that's don't take it personally. Often an addict will deny, hide and lie about the truth. It's a defense mechanism, and it's often done so to protect their own ego and the image they have of themselves. Remember that it's never about you. You may find that you're being blamed for the cause of their addiction. This is one of the hardest things to hear, that your loved one who's suffering with an addiction and they're blaming you. I'm only doing it for you. I've had couples where one person's taking steroids and they're saying, well, I'm only doing it to please you. Or I've had a lady who had a drinking problem and she said that her husband drove her to drink because he was absent. I've had people take drugs saying that that's the only way they can build their confidence and feel good around their spouse. So it's really important to make sure that this is a lie. They will say whatever they can to justify why they are doing what they are doing. It is their choice, and unfortunately the problem with addiction is the choice can go out of the window. However, hope is possible. Thousands, if not millions, recover every single year from alcohol and drug addiction. So rest assured that there is hope, and if you can focus on beating the addiction together rather than beating each other, that's the key. Overall, there may be new things that you need to learn, new ways of approaching life and helping them. It's not going to be... So whilst it can be a challenging road ahead, with motivation, with compassion and getting support when you need it, you'll be best equipped to deal with the challenges it brings. Sadly, some people would not commit to their own recovery. And unfortunately, if that is the truth, there is little you can do. All you can do is wait until they do and focus on your own life, focus on your own happiness, and focus on what you can control. Because we cannot control someone else's choice to recover or not. And so wasting time and energy and effort on this is just going to drain you. As I mentioned, I do offer a free 30-minute breakthrough session at the moment. If you'd like to apply, you just need to go to www.nicolabeer.com. Whilst this is still available to take advantage, from my heart to yours, have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you for listening to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer. To book your free Save My Marriage consultation, please visit www.savemymarriageprogram.com/consult. And if you've enjoyed this episode, Nicola would really appreciate it if you could leave a rating and review on whatever app you're listening through, so the show stays visible, allowing more people to get the support they need to increase their love, passion, and happiness.